age group between 18 and 35 is commonly referred to as millennials, and in China there are already 400 million of them. So if you're a brand that wants to be successful in China, you need to be aware of this very complicated demographic. So luckily, in this 10-episode series about millennials in China, I'm going to be covering questions like: why are they making decisions they're making? When is the best time to target them? What channels you need to be on to be able to speak to them? And many other questions. So if you want to know how to target millennials in China, please stay tuned. So let's start off with some dive into history, and I want to talk about the one-child policy, as this was the major governmental policy that shaped the millennial generation, as they were the ones born during this period in China. So what is the one-child policy? It is the population growth policy passed on in 1978 by Deng Xiaoping, and it was in place up until November 2015, when it started to be gradually phased out. The policy was put in place in fears of not being able to provide enough food and water resources for the rapidly growing population of China. Even though the policy is very controversial all over the world, actually within China over 75% of the population approve of it. As the name suggests, during this period, families in China could only have one child. However, there were some relaxations to the rule. For instance, rural families under certain conditions with the special permission from the government could have a second child. Also, in some provinces, couples where both parents or the single children themselves could have a second child. Furthermore, ethnic minorities like Tibetans were always exempt from the rule. Before the one-child policy was put in place, it was not uncommon for Chinese families to have many children. So obviously, as soon as the one-child policy was introduced, it fundamentally changed the way Chinese parents look at their kids. The vast majority of Chinese millennials who were born during this period were the only child in their family, and they got all of their attention from both of their parents, their maternal grandparents, their paternal grandparents. Everybody's attention was focused on them. Growing up, they were the little emperors and little empresses to their parents, who very often desired a much larger offspring. They also enjoyed the material comforts that the booming economy of China provided, that their parents or their grandparents did not see when they were growing up themselves. So obviously, all of these things left a huge imprint on the way Chinese millennials make their purchasing decisions now that they are adults. So if you as a brand want to target Chinese millennials and want to be successful in China and promote your product, you need to be very well aware of their backgrounds, where they're coming from, and the reason they're making decisions they're making. So that's why you need to be aware of the one-child policy and the implications of it. The one-child policy had lots of consequences like gender disbalance, the 4-to-1 problem, the top-heavy population pyramid. So I'm going to be covering all of those topics in the next episode, so please stay tuned.